everyone, welcome to another episode of DM Talks. I'm your host, Sarah DM, also known as DM.Seerah, and this is a podcast that aims to promote well-being and assist healing, whether that be physically, mentally, or spiritually. Ultimately, we just want to be seen in our entirety, and this podcast is to show listeners how multifaceted they are. We're all the centre of our own universe, so why do we do more to better our own existence? Hello everyone, welcome to another episode, another week of DM Talks. And today I am excited because I'm going to talk about one of my favorite forms of freestyle dancing with an absolute fucking babe. I met this babe through social media, giving looks, making the most extravagant costumes, and I'm just so excited to get into this conversation. Welcome to the virtual stage, Magenta Pigmenta. Woo!
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my gosh. To do this for time, but you know when the alignments just don't align, it's like, oh, but I'm so glad that we managed to make it work and now we're here.
No, definitely. So, it honestly, it always happens like when it needs to happen. And I think like life will be lifing, and then you have to be your own biggest fan, and then you have to be your own like marketer, and marketing agent, and then you have to be your own admin, you have to be your own everything. And it's just kind of exhausting sometimes because it's just like, I can't be asked to do it. Like, I just physically can't. And like, sometimes I wish I had a small team to help me, but also like, that will come.
Come on, manifestation. Come on.
Oh, 100%. I'm at this point now where like, I will start saying things that I want and just saving them on my TikTok drafts. So then when they come into fruition, I can be like, meh. Look at that manifestation last year. Meh. But yeah, how are you? How's your week been?
Good, thanks. Yeah, my week's been fab. So yeah, I had my final exam on Monday, so that's been fab. And then this whole week has just been, because there's a series of balls coming out next week in London, a big ballroom weekend. There's like 3 balls back to back. So I've just been spending every single waking second of every day just preparing for the functions, just making look after look, just like turning this shit out like a factory. But again, I also don't have a team either. I don't have no PA. I don't have no secretary. It's just been me, myself, and I, and God. Like, let's go. So that's literally been me. Like, wake up, so breakfast, so lunch, so dinner, rest.
Yeah. 100.
So I do evening, but yeah.
Well, congratulations. Like, honestly, listeners, what Magenta's just showed me that they're going to wear to the balls is honestly like, it's fucking art. Like, it's literally walking art. And like, I'm so excited to see you doing your thing. And can I say, this is off topic as well, your grey hair is growing so fast, like since you shaved it.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy. So it was literally mid-May. I think it was like May 16th. I like shaved it all off to the skin for this fucking ball. Literally, I feel like ballroom's a cult sometimes. Like, everything that I do revolves around ballroom. It's not even funny. Like, literally, I shaved off my hair so I can paint my head. Like, who does that? Like,
but you looked incredible. And I actually was going to ask you if it's possible if I could use one of those pictures for promotion, because that was insane. Like, it literally was like, be right back. And then you came back and you came in and you're like, and oh my God, you're giving like, what category were you actually walking in?
The category was face beat, and it was asking for neon pink. So you had to do like very like over the top makeup, but with the primary colors being neon pink.
Mm-hmm.
So I used like a bunch of different makeup bits, and I obviously like used so I painted like my whole head and my face. It was very cute beat. And then I used like all over. And then you had to bring a prop to the category. So I think the judges thought that my fascinator, which had a veil, was the prop, but actually an LED light, like a UV LED. So when it got to the battles, I just pulled out this light and my whole face just started glowing in places that weren't glowing before, because obviously only the reactive pigment is going to glow. So it just added like a whole different depth to my beat, and it was like the whole head. I had to get my partner to paint the back of my head for me. And it was oh my God, that day was such a stress, right? Because I was going to do this whole reveal where I was going to take the wig off and then I was going to be like bold. But basically I was driving with him on the moped and I had to put the helmet on. And when I took the helmet off, trust and believe the makeup got stuck to the helmet.
Oh my God.
So I was like up in the venue, like stressing. I was like, I cannot walk if I am not at the level I need to be. So God bless his soul, he literally drove back home and got my makeup, drove back and then painted the back of my head at the function.
What babe?
But yeah, grand prize, face beat, let's go.
As you fucking deserve. Like, you know them ones where you're literally scrolling from Instagram and then you drop your phone because you're just like, wow, look at gorgeousness. Look, that was me to you. Honestly, I was like, wow, like I couldn't stop staring. Like you were a showstopper. And I'm so happy you got the grand prize because what you fucking deserve. And like I'm so excited as well because I've decided to call this episode "This Is What I Want to See." And just because I love Vogue, I think I'm a baby Voguer, I'm a beginner like Vogue person. And since my education and my appreciation for this art form, I just thought, why not get someone who's been walking the balls for a minute, come talk to us about the history, the affirmation, the unfortunate sometimes, commercialization, that's the word, commercialization since certain TV shows as well, just because like it's something worth talking about. Like not everyone can be a voguer and like it's not deep to say, but it's more to know like how to respect a history, then try out a form. Because me personally, I love freestyle, right? But Vogue is my favorite form of freestyle. Like I've been wanting to be a dancer ever since I was like a child. So like I'd be going back and forth doing different things, whether it was street, whether it was contemporary, whether it was like, just doing, dance as you do dance. I probably did street the most, but then when I found Vogue, I was like, hey, like,
I don't know what it is. Something.
It opened a complete doorway for me because it was just like this world of playing with archetypes and adventure, but like movement. I think also voguing has made me such a better model as well because I can trust my body in so much more ways. Like that sounds kind of odd just because obviously Vogue poses but I mean like in the sense of like leading into your body and leading into your source.
Yeah, mood. Oh my God, absolutely. So how did you come across voguing?
So I think I'm trying to I can't even remember the exact day when it came across voguing. Okay, so I think, you know what, it might have just been Paris is Burning.
Okay.
I think that was the first time that I watched the documentary. And then I watched the documentary a few years ago. Oh, sorry, let me just check my microphone's okay. I think I watched the documentary a few years ago and then I just went on YouTube. Yeah, I think Paris is Burning, and then I just kept on going on YouTube. And that was probably like maybe 2018 or something. And then after that, I think, did Pose come out in 2019? Yeah, so then Pose came out in 2019, and I'm obsessed with Dominique Jackson. I think she's one of the most gorgeous people that has ever walked the planet on this earth. Like, I'm like...
Yes.
Incredible.
Your divine self on earth, right? Miss Dominique. Come on.
Dominique is like, so I think, see with me, I've got ADHD brain, so I'm a very like hyper fixator. So when I found out about Dominique, I had to do a dive ball on her whole life. And Dominique was like the girl in ballroom when she was living in New York. And then after that, I think after that, it just primarily is in YouTube because there was classes. Another thing, I used to live in Manchester. So the ballroom Manchester scene was up and coming, like in like 2018. Well, I mean, it probably was there before, but I just saw it more publicized in 2018. So I went to my first Vogue class in 2018, 2018, 2019. I don't know, sometime near that time. And it was really, really fun. I enjoyed so much. But then lockdown happened. So then I just was relying on YouTube to like help me teach different things. And then I think since like now over the past year, I've been going to dance classes at Bay Studios. So I've met Katir and Diva from Miyake Mugler, who are such great teachers, guys. Like everybody listening, if you want to go to a Vogue class, go to their classes. I know that Katir does a class on Wednesdays from 8:30 to 10, I want to say, and that's like Vogue Femme. And then Diva does a class on Tuesdays, which is Old Way, which is 8:30 to 10 as well. And guys, honestly, go. They're great teachers. I learned so much. It was just such a great experience, and it made me feel like a lot more confident in my skin. Because like since moving from Manchester to London, it's just making new friends again and getting more interest again. Like I think going to dance classes and going to activities as well just kind of helps with that.
100%. They're so fab. They genuinely are like great teachers. And they've both been in the scene for ages as well. Diva was like, I like to say one of the first. There was like a few people that did it like before her, but she's been in the scene from a very long time. I think the London scene is still quite new. The UK scene in general really is still like quite baby in comparison to Paris. That was like established by Lysandra Ninja like decade ago or more. I think she sort of started establishing things in like 2007, but it wasn't until like, I want to say 2013, 14, maybe, that things really started to like get going here. But yeah, now the scene is like all over the world. When I discovered ballroom, I thought, because I also knew about Paris is Burning and stuff, and watching loads of clips on YouTube, the girls voguing down at the Esquelita Club in New York. So I thought that ballroom, the subculture, was a New York thing. I didn't know that it was like in Europe yet. And this was like, I discovered Paris is Burning like 2015, 2014. So I just went my whole life just thinking, oh, it's a New York thing. Until one day, 2018, February, I was out with my friends in Alibi in Dalston, RIP, the club's closed down. It was like the last free entry club like in Dalston, as far as I know.
No.
So RIP. But I went and it was playing some really cute house music, and I was like, I felt like I was voguing down at the time. But knowing the reality of the situation, I probably was giving nouging. But anyway, so I was getting my life, and there was this girl that was like actually voguing, and we were like kind of voguing together, you know, it was a whole moment. And I was like, whoa, I thought I was the only person in this country that knew about voguing, like me. Like, that's the dumbest shit ever. But anyway, sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to swear or not, but
no, you can't. You're more than welcome to.
So yeah, and then I started talking to her. I was like, what's your name? She was Tiffany. She was in the House of Gaston at the time. And the whole ballroom scene here, and my heart just literally exploded. I couldn't take it. And she said, you know, there's a ball happening next week. I was like, what? Nah, give me the deets now. So I went, and it was the Strange Lands Ball by Dwayne Gasson, and they were hosting that ball to help like generate funds for his visa, which is so. And that was another thing as well that kind of like not welcomed me into ballroom, but sort of like made ballroom made sense, because it was like, oh, this is a community. So like they get for each other in that way. And I felt like I was in a time where I was really craving that community, you know. I had like a tribe, you know, I had like my close friends. We're a very eclectic bunch. We're like just indigo children down. And so we're all like into different things, but we connect like on a spiritual level, on a soul level, you know, but we all live in different parts of the city, and we see each other like once a year, but we're like really good friends. But it's one of those. So I was really like missing the sort of like immediate community in my life. And also as a queer person, like I've never really felt at home anywhere. Like pop gay scene is not really for me, like that GAY stuff, like heaven, I'm not about that life. Like it doesn't really hit for me. It never has.
I completely get you. Like even like, have you been out in Manchester before?
Do you know what? I've never been to Manchester. Can you believe it?
Come to Manchester. It is a fucking vibe. But like the gay village in Manchester is literally what you think. GAY. Like it. I mean, it's just like honestly. So I've been out in queer place. Well, the gay community in Manchester, and like it's fun sometimes, but like it doesn't represent me. And then I remember coming to London and going to Queer Brock one day, and I was like, God is good. God is good. All I need to do is come down a few hours.
I love Queer Brock. Queer Brock is so fab. I used to go when it was in like this tiny little place in Dalston. Like I swear, not fit more than like 50 people in that room, but it was such a vibe. And this was like back in the day, like 2019 or something. And now like they've much. I saw them at Hoopla and they were so. I love Queer Brock, but I really want to go up in Manchester because I know there's a little budding scene going on over there. So I want to like see what it's been, you know.
No, definitely. I love how like also Spirit shows you that it's always essentially, let me tell you a story. So I lived in Manchester for 5 years, and then I moved back down south, where I'm currently living. And I went to go visit Manchester because I did my first live show for my podcast. So I thought, you know what, let me go talk to my people, let me go chill. And there's this one day where I go meet my mate, Rebecca, and we have an eventful day, let's just say that. We have a very eventful day. End up at this house, and I'm talking to this girl and this girl's housemate because, you know, it is what it is. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm a dancer. I was like, She's like, I'm a dancer. She's like, I teach dance classes in the thing. I was like, fuck off. I was like, you tell judging. She's like, what dancing do? She's like, oh, I do a lot of street, but me and my friends have been currently going down to London to go to the balls. I was like, excuse me? I was like, excuse me? So there's a Manchester scene forming. And like in that moment, it made me think that like Spirit is literally going to take me where my joy is. Like Spirit is literally going to take me where my interests are. Because like when I was in Manchester, I didn't really have a specific group that I could like turn to or talk to when it comes to like embracing queerness and embracing, well, no, let me not say it was embracing queerness, but like, I'm just like, there was the queers that like, I don't know, went to GOY. There's the queers that like were really like, you know, artsy and very like, do you know what I mean? And that's no shade to them at all. No shade to them. They are some of the most creative, coolest people I've ever met. But when you can put them in comparison to me, I just feel out of place in it. And then I met this girl, and she's a voguer. Like she's getting like more practice. Like I think she's like a baby. She's been doing it for a few years, let's say that. She's been doing it for a few years. And she goes to classes around Manchester, but because the scene isn't as developed as like the one in London, they'll come drive down like every other time. And I was just like, look at God, because like every time that I wanted to go to Fuck It Up Fridays by myself, and I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't, I'm going to be on my own. The people that I was eventually meeting were going to be there. So it's just go to the things that you want. And like meet your friends, because like you don't know what connections you're going to be making.
Yeah, 100. This is the thing as well. Like this rhetoric is something I hate a lot. Like people are always saying like, oh, I really want to come to Fuck It Up Fridays, or this, that, and the other, but I don't have anyone to go with.
Yeah,
and it does an intimidating thing to come into that space on your own. But honestly, if you can manage to push through the anxiety of it all and just say hi to one person in the room, like your whole life will change from that point on, especially 100. If you feel with you, because you just have to bring yourself to the space. It's like a healing process that occurs. It's like this crazy like alchemy when you're there. Like something will shift inside of you, and you're just gonna wanna, if it's something that resonates, you're just gonna want more and more of it, honestly. Yes. Because it is such an amazing place. The ballroom is, my whole life was around ballroom. It's kind of wild.
No, but I love that. It's just like it's something that's like it's like you pour into it, but it also pours into you, whether that's through your like connections, your creativity, your love, your like there's so many things that like expand the container for the interest that is ballroom. So yeah, no, that's really beautiful. I'm going to take you to the first segment, right? And the first segment is the divine. So the divine is where we nominate something that is lifted our spirits. And for this week, I'm going to nominate an event that I went to last week. And the event is called Girls Talk About. And the Girls Talk About is run by Cheyenne Anderson and Kamali. I can't remember her last name, Kamali, let's just say that. And they basically host an event where creators can meet with each other. They can get advice from a panel discussion. They can also get food, they can catch a vibe, they can have a few drinks. This is the second time that I went to the event, and it's really nice because it's just that whole thing of like, like you said before, it's like a healing process. Like you put yourself in, and then you put yourself in, and to a degree you are a little bit vulnerable because you are just going by yourself and you're like sort of looking for that intimacy. But when you do, you are also rewarded by the comfort of community. And that's what I really liked. I liked how honest everyone was. I liked how confident they are. I love how like they're able to show their progression and share it. And there was one person on the panel called Esther, and Esther, who a lot of people know from Backchat in London, was there, and I had a little conversation with her afterwards, and she literally just, like, made my heart so full, just because like I think we can talk about YouTubing, I don't know, content creation, influence, like all of this shit, whatever. Yeah, we can talk all about that, but it's also exhausting navigating it, and like exhausting how to like make it that way. And like, don't get me wrong, I give like claps to everyone who used the pandemic as an opportunity to expand and grow their career, because it's just like, it's wild how like some people just picked up their phone, you know, shared themselves, like shared their personality, and now they are known across the whole world. So like, honestly, props to you. Actually, this is a quick shout out to Drea Mack, because Drea Mack is probably one of my favorite TikTokers in the world. She's so funny. And I actually saw her perform live recently. She's fucking sick. But that is completely sad note.
My ball, the first ball that I hosted after the pandemic, it was the Technicolor Kiki ball. She came out, I literally was like, what? She came out and she walked commentator versus commentator, and she won.
Oh, amazing! Because she's an amazing dancer as well. Like, she's so talented. Like, I'll just follow her I followed her since the pandemic now, but like she's an example of someone who's used this as an opportunity, but she's still, I don't know, there's something about her that's like, well, I just love seeing a Black woman shining. I love seeing Black queer women shining, let me say that. And I love the fact that like she is still so her. Like, I feel like she's getting, even though I don't know her at all, it seems like she's just getting closer to herself, and which is really, really like encouraging. And I think if I didn't follow people like her, and if I didn't have that talk with Esther, if I didn't go to that Girls Talk About event, I would just be stuck in that like mind hole, or no, that like echo chamber of like, it happens in 1 in a million. Like, is it worth it? You know, all these self-deprecating thoughts that we do as humans. And it's just like tiring sometimes, because it's just like, God has so much faith in us. God literally has so much faith, has so much love for us. But because our reality doesn't match the faith that is moving through us, it kind of like detaches us from how far we've come and how much we've done. So like, that's why I really, really enjoyed going to this event, because it just is a reminder that like, you're on the right track, baby. Like, you're doing your best. You're literally just learning, educating yourself as you go. So there's no point of being so hard on yourself. So that's why I wanted to name what Girls Talk About, and have that little side note on Drea Mack. Oh, actually, I've got another one. Sorry, look at me in my bloody mind. Another one. There's someone I follow on Instagram and they're called Good Amelt. It's Goudamelt, and they're a Vogue performer. I think they're from, let me double check actually. Remember when I was telling you I started getting into Vogue in like 2018 or like something like that? So I don't know how I found this person, but I literally found this person on Instagram, and I was watching them dance, and they were duck walking, and then they started to duck walk again, but with the same leg, take it, reverse it, and then go backwards. And I was just like, calf strength, knee strength.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
High calves, everything. The whole mechanics of the legs.
Honestly, like it's actually wild. So like ever since then, I've been following them. They do like hip hop Vogue. I'll send them. I'll send your Insta. Send an Insta to you if you ever want to see, because it looks so cool. So yeah, that's my third nomination. But yeah, that's me sharing the love. What is your nomination for this week's Divine?
For this week's Divine is absolutely the summer solstice that was on Tuesday. I'm an Aries, so I love a good fire. Yes, Miss Dean.
Ask me what my sign is.
What's your sign?
I'm an Aries sun.
Okay.
Aries. It gets worse. I've got an Aries stellium, Aries sun, Mercury, and Saturn, all in Aries. First house. I'm fire with a Leo moon.
Fire. My Mars is also in Aries. It's not Mars, it's Venus. But yeah, I've got like Aries in there as well. But yeah, so I'm nominating the solstice for the Divine because I just love a change of season. Change is always welcome in my life. And Gemini season was it was not doing bits for me. So I'm not a big, I have no water in any of my astrology whatsoever. And Cancer especially feels very challenging for me sometimes. So I was a bit apprehensive coming into this season because it's a lot of water, it's a lot of emotion, it's a lot of, but actually it's been fine so far. Yeah, I feel very, as I've gotten older, I mean, I say that I'm only 25, but like as I have been aging in my short little time here on Earth, I've become more and more sensitive to the change of season. So like as it goes on, like the more sensitive to it I become. Maybe the more aware of it I get. I don't know if there's correlation, but anyway. So yeah, this shift has been like very welcome. It's been very hopeful. I'm as an Aries, I'm definitely a spring summer person. So I feel like I'm thriving. This is like when I'm in my prime in the year.
Amen.
More difficult for me. But yeah, so I've been feeling very hopeful, very detached from the physical also, but also very grounded at the same time. And yeah, I've just been very much enjoying this summer energy coming into life. I've got loads of plants everywhere in my house as well, like loads. And they've all just been like thriving as well. So it's just, it's not necessarily like financial abundance, but like in every other way kind of abundance, So yeah.
Amen. No, I'm happy for you. And that is such a beautiful nomination, especially because like, I think with summertime as Aries people, as fire placements, like we can be charged by the sun, to such a higher degree. Don't get me wrong, everyone can, but like when the sun illuminates a fire placement, they can take on the world. They can do everything, and they'll look good whilst doing it as well. And like one thing that I love about fire placements as well is the personality, which like, because we're charged, we can charge others. And I'm not trying to say that we will like deplete, do it in a depleting manner, but sometimes with like, no shade, other placements, fire placements have this skill of like charging themselves up and like charge it. But as they charge themselves up, they can charge others up and they can keep on going. Whereas like other placements might be like, they might charge themselves up, but like, fire placements will never be scarce with it. Like fire placements are literally the sun. Like it's very like illuminating, goldening, and whatever the rays touch will also grow. And that's what I love about like fire energy, because it's just a fucking vibe. Like it is literally just a vibe.
Yeah, vibes on vibes. Absolutely. I love That's something that I feel like, not to be biased, but I do feel like, the fire signs are some of the best signs, particularly Aries.
No, I completely get it. Like, I think like as a tarot reader, like I do appreciate different archetypes, different seasons, or different archetypes with different like experiences. But like fire signs, like I just love their boldness, their directness, their confidence, and their reassurance. Because like even if a fire sign overthinks, they're not gonna waste all of their energy in overthinking, if that makes sense. Because like with me, like I'm an Aries sun, Leo moon, Aquarius rising, right? Like my brain is an ADHD, it's everywhere. Like I'm thinking about everything and everything, right? But it gets to a point where I'm just like, well, that's done now. And then I'll just go to the next thing, because like I'm going where the spark is, I'm going where the interest is, I'm going where my desires are. And I think like that's a nice thing about fire placements, because like even if we get overwhelmed or overconsumed, we'll get burnt out, and then we'll get over that burnout, and then we'll move. Do you know what I mean? But like, let's say, no shade, water placements, they can drown in their they can drown in that energy. They can drown in that drown in the exercising of their emotions. And this is me talking as a person who has basically, in my Western astrology, I have these 3 fire placements, but if you change it to sidereal, all those 3 placements, as well as my Venus, which is also in Pisces, are now all in Pisces. So I literally, like, I was talking to a friend about this the other day. It's like, this is a curb, right? And this is me with Aries, and that's me to Pisces. And it literally just like depends on the season, who am I around, like my life experience at the time. There's so many different things that will influence like what archetype I'm in. But because I'm so like energetic, people just see the Aries first.
Yeah, or the Leo, because your Leo's in Moon. I get a strong Leo energy from you, so yeah.
No, literally, it's so funny because everyone says that, and then I'm just like, literally. But no, that makes me laugh. I'm going to take us to our next segment, right? So our next segment is called Decoding the Messes, and Decoding the Messes is where we unpack mess, whether that is online or offline. And in this week's episode, we're talking about ballroom, we're talking about community. You actually sort of alluded to this earlier in our conversation. So I'm going to ask you a few questions that I'm just going to talk about the history, right? So, but ballroom has been going on for decades, right? For decades and decades and decades and decades. And over the past maybe like 8 years or like 7 years, shows like Pose and Legendary has highlighted this scene and community, and to an extent commercialized the art form. So how do you think public attention has influenced the scene or the community?
Well, it's interesting. Ballroom has always been an underground culture.
Mm-hmm.
Always have its roots. Always has its roots. But as with all subcultures, pop culture will have an influence on it. And we've had eras in ballroom. And in ballroom culture, there was the white era. That was the beginning of ballroom as we know it today. That was like from the 70s to 80s. Mm. And then pioneering era. That was the structuralization, if that's the word, of the way ballroom is today. And then the red era, and that was during the AIDS pandemic. Lots of people passed away. We lost a lot of pioneers. And then we moved from there, I think, into the orange era in which we are now. That was sort of like coming off of the AIDS pandemic into the era that we are now. But even through the decades, ballroom has changed a lot. The 90s, it was all about the supermodel glam. So what was big in ballroom then was very different to what was big in ballroom in the 70s, which was very pageant, very showgirl. I think when you talk about commercialization was happening even before like 8 years, like when you talk about Vogue, Madonna came out in like 1991 or something like this. That was like the first mainstream commercialization of ballroom, you know, and there's a lot of people to this day that know voguing through Madonna and don't really know the history of ballroom and how, like, you know, how far it goes. Ballroom can actually be traced back to the 19th century, really. A whole different thing, but you know, that history kind of builds upon itself into becoming what we know now. I feel like with the current, like, modern day commercialization, it's very interesting because if you talk about a show like Legendary, right? With reality TV show, for those that don't know, it's a kind of dance competition show about ballroom. So there are people in the community that they're in houses, and different houses compete for the grand prize. And every episode, a house gets sent home. What's interesting about it is that some of the producers of the show are ballroom icons and legends. People, not everyone, but there are people in the community involved in the show. But it is very problematic because there's only one person on the judges panel that is a ballroom person, which is Leomi, who now came out as a Miyake Mugler.
Yes, I saw that recently.
Jamila Jamil, actress, Kiki Palmer, singer, and then a guest judge every episode. And it's very annoying because everyone hates Jamila in the community, right? We all hate Jamila. Jamila, if you're listening, I'm sorry. You're just no shade to you. You're just on the show. It's jarring. Very rude. Unacceptable, but
it's so rude. He's so rude.
But it's very mixed response because some people like him, even though they despise him, they like him being on the show.
Yeah.
Reality TV show, everything is like, you know, dramatized and blah, blah, blah. So we still watch Legendary because we support the people, right?
Yes.
I'm here for the dolls. I'm here for the Butcher Queens. I'm here for the shit. And I want to see what everyone creates and how they do and all that kind of stuff. But it's also the show, even though it's about ballroom, it's literally out of the context of ballroom. Bizarre, because every episode is like a grand march. So a grand march is an episode where a house will put on a production and you'll have like 5 or more people and you will do like a whole little routine, right? That's not something that you see very often, first of all, anymore. And that's not something that you can do very often because it takes a lot of work in real life, I suppose. And so the show it's really interesting because sometimes, like when I watch Legendary, you'll see people that are legendary in the scene have been deemed legends. And, you know, you can go on YouTube and find their clips and you can get your life. And then on the show, they might not be delivering expect it because it's a reality TV show. But the gag is that whenever you talk about reality TV, you have to do this, you know, quotation marks, because it's constructed, it's produced, so it's not actually real. You know, and they create so many stress points behind the scenes to create reactions of people and stuff like this. So it's really weird. Like the commercialization is it can be very frustrating when you talk about job opportunities and things get very messy very quickly because you know, when you're in this culture, this is it becomes part of your life and you become emotionally invested in it. You know, voguing was started by the femme queens. A femme queen is a trans woman. It was started by those girls, and it was originally like a category where you pose, and shifting from pose to pose to pose. And then over time, then there was like martial arts influences, and then like the dance form became a thing, taking influence also from like Egyptian hieroglyphs. And there's a whole like story of the roots, you know, tradition that comes behind it. And also now, because it's been around for decades, you know, people that do performance categories, you know, people that do old way voguing, new way voguing, Vogue Femme, they put a lot of time and effort into that. And not only that, but time of research and, you know, paying homage to those that came before us, hold a lot of respect and reverence for the pioneers before us, the girls before us, the people that did what they did in order for us to do what we're doing now. And so when you see someone that is not in the ballroom scene, but then they're teaching a Vogue class, suddenly it gets very messy, you know, because it's like peace and love to everyone. And, you know, especially for queer people, we're all in the same umbrella, we're all in the same boat. But it becomes a bit tricky because it's like someone is taking away opportunities from someone else who lives this life, who is about this life, you know. Ballroom can be very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
A lot, you know, paying money for effects, for clothes, for garments, for production, to fly to places, to go to walk the walls and to do all this stuff. And then all the time you spend in the studio, all the injuries from voguing, all of this, that, and the others. And it sort of feels quite, you know, another, on this note, talking about the commercialization. So on that note of the commercialization of ballroom as well, is something that is very frustrating for the community is, I guess you could say, the appropriation of ballroom culture. So in like season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race, Laganja Estranja, who's actually a really fab drag queen, and I'm really here for her. But she dips, right? That was one of her gags. And she does a dramatic dip. We call that dip the Michaela dip, or however you choose to pronounce it. And there's so many different ways to dip, you know, because when you talk about Vogue Femme or voguing in general, there's different styles. There's distinct styles of voguing: the old way, the new way, and Vogue Femme. Vogue Femme, there's 2 different energies. You have the soft and cunt, which is very, and then you have the dramatic, which is expressive and very dramatic. In the 5 elements of Vogue, spins and dips are one of the elements. So there's many different ways to dip. The dip is like the full stop in the sentence, because voguing is a freestyle, but it's also a language. It's a communication. And the dip is either the full stop or the exclamation mark.
Yeah.
It would be like an exclamation mark at the end of the sentence, right? In all caps. And when you see people talk about death drop, it's like, it's just such a slap. It sounds dramatic, right? But this is what it's like to us in the scene. It's a slap in the face to us and to every single person that came before us that created this art form. Because it's kind of like a bastardization. The dip has been called a dip. It's been called the dip. It was called created when it was established. So why are these people coming here, falling on the floor, calling it a death drop? Because you're not meant to die from the dip. You're going to get back up and do it again. So if you're dying from the drop, something's wrong. Something's wrong, this thing. I don't know what to say. Like, if you're dying, I don't know about you. But it becomes very frustrating, you know, because it's like RuPaul's Drag Race has such a huge global audience.
Yeah.
It's just spreading misinformation and appropriation of culture.
Yeah.
It feels very inappropriate. That being said, there have been a few girls in the scene that have competed in Drag Race. You know, Olivia Lux is in the House of Mugler. What's her name? Miss Balenciaga, legendary face. What's her name? Mariah Balenciaga.
Oh, I didn't know she was in. Oh my God, she's gorgeous. I didn't know she was in Drag Race.
She was in season 3 and then in All Stars 6 or something.
Oh my God, no. See, that's the thing. I don't watch Drag. I know my favorites from Drag Race, but I don't watch Drag Race. So like from the UK, I'm obsessed with its taste. I think incredible, beautiful, iconic. And like, who's that funny black person? Is it Bob from Drag Race?
Oh, I love Bob.
So I have favorites, but I don't actually watch the show.
You don't need to. It's fine. Just keep up with the dolls and it's the same. But yeah, it's crazy, the commercialization, like in that realm of things.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because it's like, it's happened so much. So when we are confronted with it in any way, whether someone's teaching a workshop, whether someone's teaching a class, or whether people are being booked to go on jobs, but they're not in the scene and you see them nouging, the ballroom scene, because we have dealt with this and continue to deal with this all the time, for us it becomes very tiring, and we have zero tolerance, zero patience for it. And so when that kind of confrontation happens, it's like 1,000 voices like jumping down on one person. It can feel very intense.
Yeah.
But it's just, people have to understand is we have to deal with this all the time, because you stand up for what you believe in, and you have to stand up for your culture. And
100. especially with something like queer, especially something that's come from like Black, queer, trans, and Latina like communities. Like, who was backing them? They were backing themselves. Do you know what I mean?
They were backing themselves when no one else was backing them.
Exactly. So it's like, do you know what even this sort of makes sense, but it doesn't really apply. But I was listening to a podcast recently, and one of the guest speakers was like, when you found peace, you'll be ready to go to war. And it's like saying how like when you found something like worth fighting for, no, you know what's worth fighting for when you've like made it there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100.
I've got another question for you. Could you explain what nouging is for the listeners?
So
is that look to the side of like, how messy should I be?
They're very touchy. The girls get very emotional. Okay, so basically, nouging is the emulation of voguing with the intent. It's like it's dancing with the intention of voguing, but there's like no technique, there's no finesse, and there's no essence.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing about what makes voguing special and why voguing is such a, like, everyone wants a piece of voguing now.
Yeah.
Because it is, I believe, one of the highest forms of divine expression on earth.
Amen.
In time. And the reason, I know that sounds super dramatic, people might be rolling their eyes right now, but
let them say, talk your shit.
Is a feeling. It's not just a dance. Yes, there is style, but there is a feeling. A sense has to come from deep within the divine feminine. It's something that has been created by people that have had no other option in life but to surrender to their own feminine divinity in a patriarchal world that is constantly trying to shine, to dim the feminine light.
Yeah.
And this divine femininity has come through, and the language of this expression has been voguing.
Yes.
Now, nouging is like trying to emulate the movements without the overstanding of that deeper essence, that deeper feeling. And it's really interesting when you talk about nouging, because you can get someone that is nouging, and you can have like a baby vogue who's been voguing for like a month.
Yeah.
And still the baby vogue who has zero technique and looks messy as fuck is giving.
Yeah.
Nouging is not, because you have to understand how to express that divine femininity from within. And that, just like learning any language, is something that takes time. And some people are more adept at it than others. Like I came into ballroom thinking I'm a performance girl, thinking I'm a Vogue femme girl. So yes, I was baby voguing for about a year. And then as I got deep into ballroom, I was like, there's all these other categories. And I can give a little one too, and it's cute or whatever, but that's not my category in the ballroom. But that's not to say, I still vogue down in the club and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Voguing is very much like trying to emulate. It's very much what I ordered versus what I got.
Scream.
From Alibaba, not even AliExpress, So the girls get very emotional, especially when you see people on like big platforms, like doing all this nouging. It's like, okay, you get your life, sis. Like, I'm personally not gonna stop you on your flame. Some people, you do you, but it's just, and that's why it becomes particularly more frustrating when you talk about like job opportunities.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Being gigs that are not in the scene, or that are in the scene but they don't walk performance. So there's a whole that. But that's what nouging is. I hope I explained that.
No, you really, really did, and I really appreciate you clarifying. The thing is, I think like it's well, no, I've got two things. What were you talking about with the divine feminine? You gave me goosebumps. Like, you literally gave me goosebumps, because like it's me thinking like it's Phoenix soaring from the ashes. It's using all your experience, all your heartbreak, all your passion, all your motivation, and seeing what was created from that on the dance floor. Do you know what I mean? And like, well, on the runway. And that's one thing. So I'm kind of in my feelings right now because I'm like, oh, God, I'm getting all flushed out. But also like, well, like what you said, nouging is a form of like appropriation and a form of like simplifying something that has been carefully like protected over the years. And I find it interesting because the thing is, like with voguing, like you don't, okay, so let's say if I was a ballet dancer, yeah, if I was a ballet dancer and we were all doing ballet in the club, let's just say that, I would not be pressed, or people would not be pressed if you said to me that that technique's not right.
Yeah.
And why is that? Is it because ballet was standardized? Is it because ballet was regulated? Are people so quick to judge voguing because there's not like a committee which regulates how things need to be done? Like it really is, well, I mean, to a degree there is a committee and there's not, but I mean in the sense of like specific moves, because the way that I've understood like voguing from whether I'm watching YouTube or whether I'm learning through like dance classes with Diva or Katir, it's like I can practice these moves, but like without like the substance of education, they will only just be movement. You know, like they will only just be, there will only literally be actions with my body. But when I can learn about my story, when I can lean into my receptive energy, when I can, you know, learn about the education of Dominique Jackson, who I'm obsessed with, who's literally gone through a rebirth experience, you know, like it makes it give meaning and it makes it give like just source, you know. I can't really like put my words into it, but I just find it really interesting because like the girls get so upset when they're told no, and like it's only people that have been told no before once in their life that aren't really that pressed about it, which I've noticed. It's interesting.
It's interesting. It is very interesting. The ballet example is so funny. I was literally having this conversation with someone the other day. It's like, you know, if you're going to book someone like a ballet dancer for a music video, so you're going to book a ballet dancer who's ballet trained. So it comes to voguing, because it's a relatively new, like, you know, ballet's been around for hundreds of years. That tradition, that very strict tradition of ballet, and because also ballet is seen as high culture, so it's much fiercely regulated.
Yeah.
Whereas like voguing comes from like a marginalized subculture of people that have been rejected from society and are constantly to this day. So there is this thing of also, you know, like, oh, it's cute and anyone can do it. So it's like, it's just whatever. As long as you can do like this and you fall to the floor, it's like, yes, Hansi, slay. That's why it's frustrating for us, because for us, we do have a committee, you know, regulation of elements and of technique and this, that, and the third. And it's because we respect it so much. That's why it's so, yeah, it's just interesting. And when people do get really pressed and they don't understand why, but it's like, this is why, because there is such a tradition, such a tradition, you know. So many of the people that created voguing have passed away from like, you know, for the lucky ones of like old age, but for the ones that have not been, unfortunately, like they might have been murdered or they might have died because of AIDS. You know, it's one of three. And that's why like we really respect in the community, we really respect those people that came before us. And that's why when people are, you know, doing all this nouging stuff, it just feels heartbreaking.
No, definitely. I completely understand. Well, I not understand, but I completely respect what you're saying, because it's like something started before you, and now we got the opportunity to participate because we identify with this community and we identify with this art form and this language. But then seeing the language be misused or misinterpreted, or like being not financially compensated for certain aspects of the said language, it's exhausting, because it's like you don't want to gatekeep, but you understand why people do gatekeep in those situations, because it's like, I want to keep what's special close to me, so it's not going to be like, well, changed. So you spoke back there. You said that there was a committee earlier. What would you say to? Okay, so let's say I know nothing about Vogue, right? And I want to learn about Vogue. How can the committee or the community help me with my education?
Well, the first thing that I would say is go to a ball. That's like the first thing before I direct anyone to Paris is Burning or to Pose or to the YouTube videos. Go to a ball so you can understand the culture, because it is voguing is very specific to the culture. That's it's not just a dance. Yes, it's a dance style, but it's a dance style from the ballroom.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing. Come to a ball. There's a very active European scene, so if you don't want to come to a ball here, go to one in Paris.
Yeah.
Across the pond. But there's functions happening regularly, sort of. Now, after the pandemic, the momentum's picked up again. So, yeah.
Amen.
A function. And then the next thing I would say is Paris is Burning. Now, Paris is Burning, in the scene, it's a kind of a knife of two blades, if that makes sense, because it's great because it shows a glimpse into what the scene was like. But at the same time, it's a documentary that has been produced and presented. And, Jenny Livingston and the team, they were filming the scene for years.
Yeah.
They filmed the ballroom scene for a period of, I think, like 5, maybe, about 5 years or something, maybe more. So they have a lot of footage. I don't know what happened to all that footage. I don't know where it is. But they chose very specific bits of footage. There's bits in the scene where they make out to be like everyone in the scene is destitute, everyone is poor, everyone is stealing, all these things. That's not the case. And that was not the case. There were people in the ballroom scene, even at that time, that were like studying for master's degrees and that were financially and all this stuff. People of color that were successful financially, all these sort of things. And that's one thing that the documentary did not get across. They painted a very specific picture.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why it's whenever I tell people about Paris is Burning, it's like, take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Here's a good education on categories. There's also My Hat, which is a Vice documentary on like current ballroom scene. I don't know if
I watched that one.
Messy, but it's ballroom to the core. So that was cute. So I would say there, and then I have like playlists of ballroom stuff. So I'm like, give me your deets, let me send you the playlist, and then you can do.
Yes, please.
So yeah, that's what someone in the scene would say to someone that's interested in learning.
Definitely. Oh, well, thank you so much. No, I'd love to see that. And well, if possible, can I share it like with
by link?
Yeah, I could put it in. I could even put one of them in the links of this description when this episode comes out. But you said something just now about producers and presented and take it with a pinch of salt, because even when I provide readings for people, I'm like, look, take the meat and leave the bones. Like, take what resonates, And I think like that's when it comes to people needing to use their critical thinking or their self-awareness to understand that what is being presented to me isn't actually the full picture. It's only what I'm being shown, like with anyone and anything, Oh, amazing. So I'm going to take you to I've got 1/2 last questions, and then we're going to go into tarot reading. But we talked about community today, we talked about ballroom today, so I wanted to ask you, what does community look like for you?
For me, community looks like a tribe.
Amen.
And family. It looks like people helping each other out, people celebrating each other, also people challenging each other, because sometimes you might be doing something that's not right, but you don't know that's not right until someone tells you. And that's what community so that's what community looks like to me. It looks like family, and it looks like a tribe. An example is, so this is a bit of embarrassing for me, but anyway, I came to a ball once and I was dressed in all like gold jewelry dripping down, but I was in a kind of a garment that very much resembled like a burqa.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my sisters came up to me and was like, I don't think it's very appropriate that you're wearing. We had the whole conversation about it. And, you know, I learned from that mistake. But I was allowed to make that mistake. You know, I wasn't just cancelled there and then banished from the community. It was like, listen, you're doing something wrong. And I'm telling you, and I'm going to tell you why what you're doing is wrong. So just don't do it again.
Yeah. And it can be as literally as simple as that. Like, it's interesting because I used to be a part of this community called House of Black, which helped me with my tarot education. And we met up with each other for literally 2 years throughout the whole of pandemic, just speaking about like spiritual evolution, tarot reading, all of that good stuff. And I remember one reading, my house mother, Leona Nicole Black, was like, in cancel culture isn't real in terms of community, because why would we exile you to it? Why would we exile you? Why would you isolate you when you could use the opportunity to learn with us? Like, we are able to tell you what you are wrong, but that doesn't mean that you should be punished for the entirety of that mistake. Like, it's like you doing something, if you're doing something wrong, and then your whole life and your whole course of action and your route to healing can be disrupted by that exhalation or the isolation. So it is important to show grace, show compassion, show education to those who you care for. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some people in this world that you don't need to explain shit to. And there's some people in this world that you don't need to like cater towards. But at the end of the day, if you love them and if you care for them, why can't we show them grace?
Yeah, absolutely. I personally, that resonates with me deeply. Yeah, I hear that. That's cool.
Okay, so my last question, I guess, for you is, what 3 things do you need to be an active community member?
What 3 things you need to do? First of all, you need to... Ooh, that's a good question. Well, you need to give back to the community. Whatever community, you need to give back. You need to make connections, because enough people love to come and get their life on the floor and not make any friendships and just like mind their own. And that's fine. But I feel like community is about people and it's about connection. So you do need to connect with people. And third is to have respect, you know, to be and mindful of people around you. And that means not only like being aware of potential like you stepping on someone's toes, but also if someone's stepping on your toes, to also like to talk about it, but in a respectful way. Yeah, just respect in general, you know.
Yeah. No, amazing. That was such a lovely ending to Decoding the Messes. And I hope that all listeners will be able to, take what we said, enjoy their life and, you know, come to a fucking ball because it's lit. Amazing. That takes us to our tarot reading, our tarot section, tarot talks. So if I can get you to have a think, breathe in and out and deeply about what question you'd like to ask your spirit team. I just need to get something really quick. Sorry. So you have a think and I'll be right back, okay? You have a think. Okay. Hello, everyone. We're back with Tarot Talks, and I am about to do a tarot spread for the lovely Magenta. And yeah, can you tell listeners what your question is today, Spirit? I mean, what your question is today, Magenta?
Okay, so if you don't know about like the ins and outs of ballroom culture, this might go over your head. But if you do, mind your business. Okay, so basically, I'm kind of in an in-between period, place, limbo situation. Yeah. Because I recently left the house, so I'm now a free agent in the scene. I'm a 007.
Amen.
So I would like to know is, should I join a new house?
Okay, right. Okay, sorry, my microphone just fell, so I'm just trying to make sure it's close. Amazing. Hello, Spirit. Hello, ancestors. Hello, Spirit team. How are you doing today? I ask for confirmation, clarification, compassion as I navigate this message for Magenta. Magenta's asking, should they move to a new house? They're in a transition period. I ask for no projections. I ask for clarification. I ask for compassion. Ashe and amen. Okay. Ooh. Okay. I'm using a new deck as well, which I'm absolutely loving, which is actually sort of in theme for voguing. Well, not voguing, but like old way Vogue. Just because it's basically like a manga tarot deck. So like, do you see?
Okay.
So like,
I love. Oh my god, that's so fab.
Very gorgeous, very like military, but also like ninja, very, you know. Okay, amazing. Okay, so you've got, how long have you been voguing for?
I've been in the ballroom scene for 4 years.
Okay. Would you ever start your own? Like you'll start your own house?
Why do you say that?
Just because the first thing I got was saying start your own. But I also know that voguing is, like you said earlier, that there's like layers to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like, obviously, like I said, take the meat, leave the bones, because like, if there's, I don't know the reschedule of voguing. So it could be like, oh, you have to have 8 years on your head before this. I don't know. So whatever you know, apply this wisdom. But the first message I got was start your own. I got the sun in reverse. And the sun is optimistic. It is leaving the red flags behind, going off into your external expression and highlighting, even the summer solace, like you mentioned, birthing a creation. You know, I think when you see this card, it's sort of amplifying the... Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh just then. But every time I see this card, I think of when Theresa May was like, oh my God, through the...
Dad.
Sorry.
Very that.
Sorry. I would use this time because I see that you're going through a transitional period. Use this time to go in green spaces because hopefully that will help the grounding and birthing experience of expressing your new creation, because something isn't coming into fruition. And I think the sun is the confidence in your spirit team to like bring it into action, because essentially like the sun, right? The sun illuminates anything, right? The sun makes things grow. The sun expands it. The sun literally brings life. But the sun is also your conscious expression. So it seems like you've been doing the work on yourself to move, and I don't want to say purge, but like process the feelings that were in your body, though in your conscious, were in your feelings, out of your soul, so it can create something new. And I'm saying this because the first card that I got, I can't find it now, but it was the 3 of Swords at the bottom of the deck. That's normally a card of like heartbreak and pain. And that talks about when your reality doesn't match your fantasy, and the heart-piercing pain that we put ourselves in when we have to make that awareness. But the thing is, with any form of like information or any form of like opinion, whether it's internalized or projected, this is all information that can be used as your armor, and this is all information that can provide later on wisdom to your future. So when you asked me should I start, no, should I move to a new house? I said, would you start your own? It was me thinking that there's some wisdom that you need to share. There's something that you need to birth into a new project. But I wanted to also double check with the structure of how that would be. The next thing you got was Prince of Wands, 6 of Swords. The Prince of Wands is a character who is a trailblazer. They are motivated, encouraged, excited. They're very like, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking of a person. No, if it doesn't come to me, I'll think about it. But when I see these 2 cards, right, I see all the fire that this person got comfortable sitting in. And I also see the transition that this figure is making. So I'm thinking like there's something about this new experience that needs to excite you to keep the ball rolling. I think like, oh, actually, you know what? Let me, Spirit, can I have a clarification, please? Please, can I have a clarification on moving house? Right. Okay, I got the sun at the bottom of the deck again. So there's definitely something about you creating, like birthing a new project. And I think you might have to start your own to get that fulfillment that you are seeking. Just because when I asked for these two cards, I got the 5 of Wands, and the 5 of Wands is like competing energies. And yeah, you can complement yourself, but the environment that you're in is becoming a conflict to your internal desire. Right. And this is making you think, oh, I need to leave. I need to get out. Am I bored? What is my thirst here? And I think like with the 6 of Swords and the Prince of Wands, it's having a childlike energy of creation so that you're not defeated. But it comes to a point where this Prince of Wands is like, what should I do? Shall I go? Like, am I being full? Like, does this excite me? And like, have you ever looked into human design?
Human design? No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like basically like a form of it's not like a birth chart, but essentially you're given your details and it tells you things about yourself and how to move into the world. And I'd recommend you doing it as well, because then it can give you a bit more like practical solutions of how to move through the world. The only reason why I also asked is that I did mine recently and I'm a generator. So simply, if it doesn't make me feel good, I'm not going to do it. And like, there's all these different types of archetypes, like people are manifesting generators. So I think maybe when you do your human design, you'll be able to like channel how to bring things into fruition. But my heart and my energy is saying that you're kind of bored of what you've been provided. And now you're in a transitional period. This internal conflict is manifesting in challenges or I don't want to say hostility, but like just it's manifesting in like a disruption, whether that's in your finances, whether that's in your work life, whether that's in like contributing to, it's like, you know, when people are all trying to like develop a plan, but everybody's sticking to their guns, right? They need to work together, but there's a leadership quality in you that is not being used to its full potential. And I think that's why the sun is coming out on both cards of the deck. Like, you literally got the sun in both options. So maybe it's using this summer period to use what you perceived as obstacles in your past as information to the wisdom of what you want to create. It's like, let's say you've been in the scene for 5 years, right? Write all the things you liked, all the things that you didn't like, and write all the things you change, and use that as a template to birthing projects that can come into fruition. I also think, like maybe you won't like start it tomorrow, but I think that is going to happen in your life, just because like you got the 6 of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles, and the 6 of Pentacles is it's an imbalance in energy. It's like either you're receiving more than you're getting, or you're getting more than you're receiving. But because you got the Ace of Pentacles at, to clarify this card, God is literally giving you something to create. It's only a pentacle, so it's only one. It has the potential to grow into something huge, like 10 of Pentacles, wealth, abundance, companionship, the word is on the tip of your tongue. Yeah. There's just something that you are being encouraged to create that is going to bloom into this. And it's you taking the chance of yourself. Spirit, can I just have one more card? Okay. Breathe in and out for me. Tell me when to stop when you want to.
Stop.
Oh my, you can't make this shop. Yeah, you're going to make a house. You got the 10 of Pentacles, bitch. You literally got... So, like, this is you navigating, not receiving what you're putting into. It's like, think about it. Even before this conversation, before we started recording, you told me that you're experiencing in tailoring, you're experiencing in costumes, your makeup, event plan. Like, we were talking about so many different things, which is literally evidence to how you have so much wisdom to share and how you have so much knowledge that can, do it all. But you're currently in this position where you're like, talking to all these people, and and I'm not saying this in like a classist, like rude way. It's not like they are underneath you at all, but you're just not being used to your full potential where you were. Because like this is literally you, and this is you talking to everyone. But the Ace of Pentacles is an opportunity to birth something new. And then when I ask for clarification, bitch, you got the 10 of Pentacles. Are you mad?
Work.
Hey, fucking man. Okay, so breathe in and out for me. I want to ask you to pick a card between 1 to 3. Oh.
1.
Sorry, all of these are jumping out. Okay, Spirit, which one? Okay. Right. So I'm going to give you one, but this one also jumped out, so I'm going to let you know. Maybe there's another message for listener right now. But the message that you cast for was this moment is the most important. How are you going to use it? And it was actually number 1. I'm so sorry. Where did I have a book. All right, boom. The past no longer exists. The future doesn't either. This means the only moment that you know exists for sure is the one you are in right now. Make the most of now. Everything else will sort itself out. And then the one that fell out for me, for you, said 3. Will the worrying you're doing right now change a single thing about yesterday or tomorrow? Worry presents itself when you believe that a circumstance exists that is more powerful than your divinity. You desire to run off in your mind in a past event that you will wish you could have done differently, or you run to the future that you hope holds a version of yourself that you aren't ashamed of. Worrying won't change the past and prevent whatever might happen in the future. Be at peace with now. So yeah, that is your reading.
Okay.
How did that resonate with you? Is there anything that
I mean, the cards don't lie.
You got the sun twice.
That's so wild.
Like, this is such motivating energy. Like, everybody wants to be here. So, like, give yourself a pat on the back for the work that you've been doing, because it just seems like so much of your... Is the word entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship
right.
has allowed you to come to a place of creation, and now Spirit just wants to see what you can do. Spirit is just excited to be with you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go.
Let's go. No, honestly, that was such a beautiful reading.
What's gonna happen, won't we?
Yeah. I'll also take a picture of these cards as well, so then you can have them for your own reflection, or you can just listen to this podcast again, so you can have a reading. But and that takes us to our last segment, and the last segment is called the Divine. Oh my goodness, I forgot the last segment. Okay, no, I remembered. Okay, the last segment is the direct message, and the direct message is where we leave listeners with the take-home message. What do you want to leave listeners with?
What do I want to leave people with? I want to say to just trust in yourself, because belief wanes. People can believe many things. Some people believe the earth is flat, some people believe the earth is round, belief is very subjective, but trust is much more definitive. So just trust yourself. Trust yourself in everything that you do, and have faith in your own abilities, because you are capable of so much more than what you think. Whatever you think you're capable of, times that by 100.
Yeah.
Even if you think you're capable of so much, times that by 100.
Amen.
And even if you don't feel like you're capable of anything, you are capable of absolutely anything.
Amazing. That is such a beautiful direct message. It was such a beautiful direct message. Listeners, I want to leave you with I just want to reaffirm one of the oracle messages. Like, worrying is a distraction. Like, worrying can be procrastination. So, like, be objective with your worries. You know, just be like, if there's a worry there, just ask yourself, why is the worry there? And ask, is it necessary to be ruminated in your mind all day? Because I'm guilty of that. Like, I have a worry, and the worry will follow me like anything. And it's just like, look, it's not helpful here. Like, it's just, if anything, it's deflating me. It's adding another burden on my back. So, like, be present on how you navigate your worries so you can get your shit done. And yeah, just enjoy life. Like, my assignment right now is to follow the crumbs of joy. So I'm literally just doing that. I'm doing that all the way to abundance. So that's my advice for you guys. This has been such a great episode.
Yay.
Thank you so
much
for having me. I was about to say thank you so much for having me. That's so funny. But please, could you tell listeners where they can find you?
Yep. So you can find me on Instagram at Magenta .Pigmenta. You can find me at Stanley Arts on the last Friday of every month for Fuck It Up Fridays. That's the monthly Vogue function that I do. We are taking a break in August, but after that, last Friday of every month, Stanley Arts. And yeah, that's me.
Amazing. We'll put it on the show notes as well, because honestly, like, you're a fucking vibe. I've been your host, Seerah DM, also known as DM.Seerah. You can check out the spiritual Discord, which will be in the bio if you want to make connections and support. I've been posting a lot more on my Patreon, pick a pile readings, whether it's to do with love messages or faith reading, spirit reading, all that good stuff. So check out the Patreon. You can book a personal reading with me at www.DM.Seerah.com. But that's me. Lots of love. Hasta luego. Bye.
Bye.
Amazing.